Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Fairmede Hilltop Neighborhood Council meeting. It's January 2022. We're still obviously in COVID, and I hope everybody's got their booster shots. I want to thank everybody for coming, and our special guest, Chief of Staff to the Mayor, Vernon Whitmore, Louie, Tirona, our police chief. We've got our beat officer. We've got some dignitaries. Sean Dunning is going to be running for mayor, and of course we can't talk about campaigns in here, but if you have any questions or want to talk to a candidate running for mayor, feel free to catch them outside the door after the meeting. So, well, I think we're going to start the meeting off with the beat officer so we can get the crime stats out of the way. I know you guys can get back out there, so if you want to come up and say a few things.
So I'm Officer Lemus, the officer. I am a sitting officer for tonight. I was tasked to come in and talk to you folks about current going to the Hilltop, the Fair area, deeper in Richmond, East End. With that being said, January's still not yet over. I have return stats from the last one. Let's see what's called. So for the Greater Northern District, which includes some of the downtown areas just south of 23rd Green and all the areas of Richmond, all up until our Hilltop and our Carriage Hills and our deeper Meadowbrook district over there and by Deanza. Homicides are going to no change as well as into the new year now. Good point on that. Aggravated assault, as of last month, decreased by 1. Assault of firearm decreased by 2. Robbery enforcement actually decreased by 5. Sexual assault has increased by 1, and then total violent crime has increased by 3. That's violent crime. As far as property crime goes, burglaries have increased by 9. Commercial burglaries have increased by 3. Residential by 3 as well. Vehicle burglaries have increased by 4. And then theft, including vehicle, has increased by 1 or 5. And then arson has increased by 1. So total crime property, crimes related to property has increased by about 17. I'm looking forward to the year 2022. I will be working the weekend graveyard side for the next grade year 2022. So I have to hear out some questions and send me back for the rest of the evening. Yes, ma'am.
You said concern?
Yes.
I have a couple.
I'm sorry?
I do have a couple concerns.
Please, I'm happy to hear you.
Do you need now or?
Well, depending on how the meeting needs to go,
Okay.
we need to have it one-on-one. I'm happy to have it as well.
Well, no, it's regarding the community when I have.
Oh, understood. Because it's the best common habit, why not?
Okay, well, I live in Barclay and I walk all the time. And there's a house, it's 3087 Barclay, and it's a menace. And also, I walk a lot, and on noon, there's an abandoned car has been there for a while. And I've seen officers parked on the street off of Altamira, and the car, haven't seen it being ticketed or anything, so that's my concern.
Okay. The chief was just having a conversation about hiring more parking enforcement related folks. It is a role amongst us as well, between the many roles that we share. But in your mind, I'm happy to take on the parking enforcement factor. Just last week, I managed to go around the Northern District, downtown area to take care of some light vehicle loads that are parked all the time. I personally take that on, so we have to go out there and do a little bit more for you, especially up here in the greater part of Hilltop, just kind of stray from the rest of the she was just concerned about parking enforcement, and then there's certain household that's become sort of a nuisance to you. So, again, just taking on focuses for the new year. Definitely parking is become not only just a Hilltop or greater part of, the eastern end issue. It's a whole citywide thing. We try to do our best to mitigate it. But at least for the sake of this conversation, I'm happy to take it on. Cool. Yes.
Hey, once a month we had a street sweeper that comes by and sweep one side of the street and the following day they do the second. But they used to have the officer in the car in front of them ticketing any car that wasn't supposed to be on that side.
Right.
Whatever happened to that?
So our staffing actually shortened. We're down to staffing with officers alone. Parking enforcement, that's a whole other role that we're still trying to recuperate from. Having people leave and go and come. So I believe the chief would be able to chime in on this as well. But
Can I just add on that?
By the way, those of you that don't know, this is our interim chief of police, Louie.
So just to answer, sorry, just to answer that directly, ever since COVID began, we've been under direction from the city council to have a moratorium on citations for violations of the street sweeping ordinance. I'm still waiting for clarification from council, but as of right now, we are not citing for the street sweeping violations based on direction that we're receiving from the city. So that's as direct an answer as I can give.
Will that be coming back sometime this year?
I hope so.
Okay, thanks.
thank you, Chief.
I wanted to ask about the graffiti out on Hilltop Drive. I just noticed that lately, on the wall right here, Hilltop Drive, right across from the Marriott Hotel, I started to see graffiti on the wall that we never saw before. What can be done about that?
Well, aside from documentation on our end to make sure that it isn't irrational things going on, things that we're not aware of, have to look into it as well as, I don't know if everyone's familiar with the city of Richmond. Part of our process as well, we can document it through there. Code enforcement, city folks can come out and take care of the issue by both moving it, paying over it, or finding some other solutions for it as well. That's really repair back.
And also, if you don't know, there is a hotline that you can call to report graffiti. Public Works will come out, obviously place it on their list to remove the graffiti. My opinion is this: as soon as graffiti can be removed, the better.
Right.
Because the longer it stays, the more graffiti is going to invite. And so, reporting that, if you just go to the City of Richmond website, there is a link for the reporting of graffiti. If that doesn't work, this is what these forums are for as well, so that the beat officer can be made aware of those kind of issues. Because we don't get an actual list of graffiti that is reported. It's Public Works that does. But if we don't know about it, we definitely want to know about it.
This is on Main Street. This is our Main Street, is Hilltop Drive, right? Hilltop Drive is the main street of our neighborhood. And if this starts to be, like you said, graffiti, I'm starting to see more and more, then that leads to other things. Next thing you know, we're going to have people dumping trash. We already got the homeless at the Marriott Hotel. And so just one thing starts to, it just starts multiplying.
Are they still there?
Yeah, they're still there.
The phone number for the graffiti abatement is right in the middle of the handout that.
I'll call it.
Thanks, Dan.
Any more questions or concerns?
Any more questions?
Yes, there's a car that's big, deuce and a quarter, I don't know what it is, but it's been parked there since last year. It's broke down right by the church, and it's been there for church, the people that go to the church wanted to say something. Why can't that car be moved? It's not running.
This
It's
is the
just
first,
sitting there forever.
That's
If
an old
it was in a
problem.
white community, it'd be gone.
That's the same car I was talking about.
Well, I mean, if you don't know about it,
I've called,
Oh,
they
okay.
know.
man,
I've called and called and called.
okay.
You get the picture?
yes, ma'am, we'll take care of it right after this meeting, trust me.
May I make sure you give him the information on the policy?
I don't have it with me, it's right there, you'll see it, go out there, right by the church, you'll see it,
It's the same car I was talking
you'll
about.
see it.
By Sojourner or this year?
Excuse me?
The little Asian church right there.
Right there, right there on Grove.
Right on the
Go down, go to,
Yes.
take a left and go down, you can't miss it.
Right there on
You can't miss it, it's almost this far,
Yeah.
as long as it is, it's just been sitting there.
Phase it out.
Any more questions? Oh, we got questions.
Just want to know about the condition of the streets. When will we get some new streets? Like on the campus, there's a lot of potholes, especially in Canton.
Lord,
At one point, some work was done, I don't remember if it's PG&E or the water company, but they came and paved one whole side of a couple of blocks. But on the other side, it's terrible. And you could damage your car, driving over it, and
Unfortunately, it's not a question for the police, it's more for the city.
I'd also like to know them as well, our patrol vehicles, driving the same streets road, complaining about every day, so looking forward to the same opportunity now.
sounds like public works have a
Public
lot.
Works. And unfortunately, right now, they're putting more money into the homeless issues than they are back into the city, which is a problem for me. That's fine. Any more questions? Oh, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me more information on the crime statistics? I mean, telling me there's an increase of 1 or 2 doesn't really give me an idea of, you know, is it like 50 robberies or whatever? Can you give us?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
So the total for the month of December, we had 5 aggravated assaults, 11 related directly to robbery, 5 directly robbery with a firearm, 1 sexual assault crime, and then that totals out to 17 total violent crimes. Within relation to property crime, 29 burglaries, 5 commercial burglaries, 4 residential, 20 auto burglaries, all other theft, petty, as it escalates, 49, vehicle theft, 43, 1 arson, and that totals up to 122 reported crimes for property.
43 and
Is
1.
that citywide?
That's just for this district.
Just for this district?
That's for this district alone, sir. And that's for the month of December as well. Okay? Go ahead.
Let me discuss that a little bit more. So as most of you probably know, the city is broken up into 3 different districts. If you don't, it is Northern District is basically 23rd Street towards the hills, north of Ohio Avenue. B8 is Hilltop all the way out to Parkchester. B9 is basically everything east of Highway 80, so Hilltop Green all the way out to Carriage Hills. So you have that understanding. Southern District is exactly how it's described, everything south of Ohio Avenue. The Central District is basically what most people think of as the Iron Triangle. All right, so to answer your question specific to this district, which is B7, 8, 9, I don't have it broken up to just B8. But comparing November to December of last year, there were 0 homicides, so 0% change. Shootings there was a decrease of 2, which is a 100% decrease, which is good. Robberies, this is where one of the issues that we face citywide, total robberies increased 83% in this district. Okay, so that's context. Sexual assault decreased by 1, which is a 50% decrease, which is good. So overall violent crime, because of those robberies in Northern District, increased by 21%. Okay, so that's context. As far as property-related crimes, this is what plagues the Northern District the most. And here we see a 13% overall increase in property crimes. What that means is burglaries increased by 45%, which is, again, one of the things that plagues this district the most. Thefts decreased just a little bit by 2%. Vehicle thefts increased by 13%. So that's 38 to 43 vehicle thefts. And then arsons pretty much stayed the same. So the total, what we call Part 1 crimes, which is those property and violent crimes, increased in the Northern District 14% from November to December of 2021. So everyone has that context. Now, what I can tell you is, overall for the entire city, when you compare 2020 to 2021, we do see market decreases both in violent and property-related crimes, which is good. I think 34% decrease in violent crime for the entire city, 2020 to 2021, and the 13% decrease in property-related crimes for the entire city, 2020 to 2021. Now, you have to take this with a certain grain of salt because these are reported crimes, right? So we can only work with what's reported to us. Are there crimes out there that aren't reported? I have to assume yes. And so I don't know how to calculate unreported crimes. But the truth of the matter is, for reported crimes, we have seen a good decrease. And that really is because of the involvement of the community, as well as the fact that the original police officers haven't just hidden behind COVID. They continue to be out there doing what I and Chief French expect them to do. So there is some good news there, but what I caution against is sitting on laurels and thinking that everything is hunky-dory. Because as soon as we turn our back on problems, they're going to continue or grow even worse. But there is some good news and good trends because most of the citizens, the residents of the city, are amazing people. It's the very few who cause most of the trouble, and then some of the imports. But does that give you more context? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to take over your time.
So I don't want to shift the conversation too much. In respect to, you notice there's an increase in the neighbors getting the ringing.
Okay.
How have you guys utilized that to help you in combating the robberies or assaults or so forth that are being reported on the neighborhood now?
So to answer your question specifically, things like Ring have been very instrumental in terms of gathering evidence when we have things like property or violent-related crimes. When we have that information, it provides for the actual video surveillance, which helps with identifications. And then it also gives us just more data in terms of being able to spot the trends. We are implementing a new system this year. Fortunately, we had it approved. It's a computer database mining system that will connect all of the various databases that we utilize so that we can connect the crimes more closely. It's a system called Interim, like Falcon, and it's going to connect the databases between most of the police departments in Contra Costa County, which will help us to really utilize the limited resources we
since you're up there, could you let the audience know how many officers there are per shift, per beat, and what happens in the event of a homicide on the other side of town?
Sure. I probably kind of jumped the gun. I didn't even really introduce who I am. I'm Louie, Tirona, as Arto said. I'm the acting chief right now. My official title is assistant chief. And I really want to put out there my desire and expectation as Chief French, as most of you know, is going through some difficult personal issues. And my expectation and desire is that she's able to get through that, return to her post, and then I can fade back into the shadow. Because I trust her, I trust in her leadership, I've worked with her my entire career, but for right now, we're dealing with the situation as is. I've been here as a cop 28 years. Somehow, some way, I'm the longest serving Richmond cop actively working right now, which is still strange for me to think, but somehow I'm the old guy, unlike this one. So that's just a little bit of background about me, so you know who I am. Okay, it's not just this random Asian guy I've been talking to. To answer Arto's question, generally speaking, there are 9 police officers working the city of Richmond at any given time. 9. 9 plus 2 sergeants and 1 lieutenant. And then, of course, during day shift, there are more. There's some traffic officers, and then, of course, detectives. But generally speaking, 9 officers at any given time. When we have a critical incident like a homicide or a major traffic collision in any part of town, that draws those resources to that location. The reality is, now it doesn't happen very often, but the reality is that a lot of those officers get sucked up into one of those critical incidents. So it's not unusual for a homicide or a shooting to take up 80 to 90% of our on-duty officers at any given time. That means that, unfortunately, we would have to draw someone like Officer Lemus here from B8, say, to come down to the Iron Triangle to assist. As soon as we can let them return, then we do. Now, I can also tell you that for 2022, and I'm probably again jumping ahead, I've shifted resources to try to increase the number of officers in patrol. Okay, so it actually, for response times and for calls for service, you should see an improvement in that. However, the pie is only so big. And so I had to cut from somewhere, which means investigations. And that means that my investigative staff is roughly 50% of what it used to be at its height. And I do track things like closure rates, and there is a corollary in terms of staff and investigations and solvability. There just is. But for 2022, I have to put the officers where they're needed the most in terms of when someone calls 911 or someone needs a police officer, I want that call to be answered as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of challenges and a bigger discussion to be had. And my goal is that we're able to fill some of the vacancies that we do have, but it's a challenge. It's a massive challenge. And it's not going to get any easier for a while, but we have to use our resources as efficiently as possible, which is why I've made some of these shifts as far as our resources.
But you do have the funds available to fill the spots if you can fill them, right?
That is true. But the reality is this: less people want to get into this profession. That's one, nationally speaking. 2, regionally, we are competing with everybody else who wants to hire cops. It's a buyer's market right now. So we're competing with Alameda County Sheriffs, Clark,
even in Fairfield, even cities that you never used to have to compete with, are offering, and a lot of the candidates are much more savvy than they were when I first started. They actually compare things like pay and benefits. I mean, they do. And I'm not saying it's all for that, and an officer shouldn't base their decision on pay and benefits, but the reality is that they do, right? So we're competing against other agencies. And then we're also dealing with City of Richmond specific challenges as well. You know, I think that the vast majority of Richmond residents support the police and really support what we do. But there is unfortunately a perception among some that the police aren't as welcome in the City of Richmond as other places. Some of that we can control, some of that we have to work on. I'm not pointing fingers at all. I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation.
But you know, there's a lot of disinformation out there that there's no money for police officers. Well, there is.
I've never said that.
You know.
Yeah, we never said that.
I know. No, I'm just saying there are people out here who believe that, and that's not true. We know it's hard to get police officers to come here. We know they're not the best paid, but there is money out there if you can get them. And I get tired of people telling me, well, they don't know what they're talking about. I know there's money for you guys, but you know it's hard to recruit, like you said.
And that's one of the reasons I want to come out to these kind of meetings is to talk to the community, help us recruit. I mean, we have a lot of homegrown officers here, and we would like to recruit more of those. And we would all obviously like to recruit any highly qualified officer who wants to work in the city of Richmond. There's a reason why an officer like Officer Lemus and several others who left during some of the stressful times last year for other agencies returned to the city of Richmond. Because the Richmond Police Department offers them something in terms of community engagement, teamwork, camaraderie, that is hard to find elsewhere. And we, as a city, deserve the best in terms of police services. And we're committed to doing our best to provide that. There are challenges. There are real challenges. And it's not going to be solved all by the police department. We all know that. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Don?
I'm glad you brought up the fact that there are a lot of unreported crimes. Everybody wants to take credit when crime statistics go down, whether it's the police department or even the defund the police department. They all want to take credit for it, okay? But something that's being ignored is, I'm one of these people that I don't report crimes anymore. I mean, if it's a violent crime, of course I would. But last year in the first 5 months, I had 2 major arsons, I had 8 break-ins, and so I had somebody coming to my front door trying to buy some crank. And I didn't report any of them because I know, one, that the police department is not going to investigate. It says so on your sign in your lobby. It says so on your website. It's, you know, you fill out a form. It's just for insurance purposes only. And we have a district attorney's office that says they will not prosecute. So why am I wasting my time hanging around for who knows how many hours to report a crime? Because these crimes are not reported, then your statistics make it look like crime is down. Oh, I'm sorry, I also forgot to mention that our neighbors, including some of our elected officials, will vilify you for not being sympathetic enough to the plight of the people that is breaking into your home or your backyard and stealing from you. Or even the guy that, I was actually told when I reported it on 311, the guy who tried to come and buy some crank from me on my front door. I was actually told, I should have invited him into my living room, offered him a bottle of water, and talked to him about his problems. They were vilifying me for even just letting the police know you might want to watch out for something like this. But again, it's difficult to have decent statistics when the crimes aren't even being reported.
And that's why
you know this.
Yeah. That's why I said that there are unreported crimes. I can only work with what's reported, obviously. It's true, if there are no investigative leads, we just don't have the resources to work on those cases. I'm being as upfront and honest as I can be. When we do have leads, we're going to work those cases. Now, does that mean someone's going to go to prison or jail? Well, maybe not. But still encourage people to report, because otherwise, it may not be something we can solve in that particular instance, but it does give us an understanding of trends so that we can then shift resources to those problem areas. If we never know about it, we're going to continue focusing on what we've always done. That's just not a recipe for success. And I know it's frustrating, and they don't have a perfect answer, but I definitely sympathize, and I wouldn't invite that person in your home.
Yeah, when he asked for the second bottle, that was, no, I didn't let him in.
Questions?
For something like that, do you call the non-emergency number and just report it?
So for non-emergency situations, yes. All right.
Which I did.
And I appreciate it. And I know, Don, you've had your fair share, and I'm very well aware of that. But honestly, if we don't know about it, and yes, it may not get fixed right away, we're never going to be able to address it if we don't know about it. Now, I know about yours, because you're not really shy about telling rules, and I appreciate that. But if the rest of the residents in the city don't, honestly, then we don't have enough information to place the people where they need to be and put the resources where they need to be, as challenging as it is sometimes. But if we see a trend, then we can start focusing. Part of the reason I shifted more personnel to patrol is to give patrol officers more time to focus on some of these types of issues. Right? Because all of the last year, we haven't had that opportunity. Cops have been mandated to work overtime just to fill vacancies. And you know that gets old really fast. And that leads to burnout, that leads to poor performance, that leads to all kinds of negative things. So by shifting more resources to patrol, my goal is that they have more time, again, to focus on some of those areas that they weren't able to last year. Last year was just call for the most part. By shifting more resources to patrol, again, my goal is that they have more time to handle some of these neighborhood quality of life issues. Things like the abandoned car, right? Now, they don't have, now they'll have less, let me put it this way, a more positive spin. They'll have more time to address those things. And so, it hurts me because my home as a police officer was in investigations. That's where most of my career was spent. And shifting those resources to patrol, even though it makes the most sense, I know in the long run isn't the answer. Because then things, the serious crimes that need those investigations, it's going to be harder to deal with those. And we can only do that so long. But this is a new year, and I'm hoping, I just offered a job to a police officer yesterday, and that's good news. I did one to another officer, or offered a job to another officer 2 weeks ago. I have one in the academy. I'm looking at putting 2 more in the academy. Now, these are long-term investments, as most of you know. From time of hiring to the time that you have a fine officer like this guy here patrolling by himself, that could be close to a year. Right? Because of the academy's 5 months. Our internal training is another 5 months. We're not going to compromise on the quality of our officers. Not going to do that. But it is a long-term investment. So even though we're making some headway in terms of hiring, it's a very long-term game.
So, any other questions, comments, or concerns before we let these officers go? And one thing that was surprising me is that you haven't got a call since you've been standing here. That's pretty rare, so crime must be down.
They know he's with me.
Okay. Any questions or comments or concerns? Going once, twice?
Are we getting any recruits from the high schools, the local high schools?
You know, that's a great question. One of the areas where we actually have had success is our Explorer to Cadet to Officer program. So we have an Explorer program that works with teenagers from the area, from Richmond specifically, who get to learn about police work. They work a lot of the community events when we have them before COVID. And we want to start that up again. And then they really get a taste for what police work is about. Then, if they are so inclined, we have a cadet program, which is a part-time employment opportunity, where they get even more direct experience. My goal is to hire more cadets, because they also do parking enforcement, and they help with lower-level crime reports. And they get a better idea of what the job is. From there, it's a very high success ratio of cadets becoming police officers who are very successful. And so that is an area that it's still there, it's just COVID really hurt a lot of things, and that's one of those. In-person meetings and those kind of events couldn't happen as frequently or at all during COVID. I maintain a very open door policy, and I know Chief French does as well. Whether it's email or phone calls, or if you'd like to have a meeting or attendance at a neighborhood meeting, just ask. And either I'll be there, or hopefully not, or before long, Chief French will be there.
Well, thank you much. I want to thank you for coming in. Let you guys get out in the street again. Thanks again. And so we'll see you probably in July or something like that. Sounds good. Thank you for everything. Take care. You guys, take care. And so next we have the Chief of Staff from the Mayor's Office. And for those of you that are not familiar, it's usually the hub of information. A lot of the information that the city gets goes through the Mayor's Office. So we've invited Vernon Whitmore, Chief of Staff to Mayor Tom Budd.
Thanks, Arto. Good to see everyone, and I see some familiar faces. Cordial and Mariana Church. A person that worked with me, Kim, in the newspaper. Actually, I'm new to being in this position. I was in the newspaper business for 22 years, and publisher of the Globe newspapers, worked with the West County Times if anybody was around. When the West County Times was here, and the Post newspaper where Kim and I worked together. So, had the opportunity to work with every mayor since George Lemus, if you're around Richmond, that long. So, every mayor, city manager, city council, so it's been quite a ride, I would say. But as far as working in the mayor's office, I feel like I'm in my office right now. All day, my staff and I have to address these same issues. And with COVID, it's really been tough, but we do our best to stay on top of things. And as the chief was talking, I think everybody has a smartphone. Download the app, the City of Richmond app. On that app, you can report a lot of issues like the park. Take a picture of it. Cars that have been parked in front of your house. I'm also the president of the Santa Fe Neighborhood Council. And actually, I was pulling double duty because I was doing my neighborhood council meeting there while I was waiting for this to start. So, whoever's the chief of staff or neighborhood council president, it's the same issues. It's the street lights, RV parking, parked cars, street cleaning. I went out and took a video of the street sweeping machine just driving right down the street because there's no regulations anymore. They don't give them tickets. And so I encourage you to know who your district council member is.
I'm sure, does everybody know that the city is broken down in districts? Right now, right. One thing that's going on right now is redistricting, where with the 2020 census, what's going to happen is there's only 3 districts right now, and then this is District 2 right now, right? District 2 is at large. This is 4. I'm in District 2, and it's at large. But with the 2020 census, what's happening, it has to be redrawn. So that process is going on now, and the next maps have to be submitted on February 1st. The council has until April to decide what districts are going to be, basically configurations by racial background and by population. So please keep an eye on that, because it's very important to all of us. Another thing is there's the Reimagining public safety. And you really have to kind of understand what that's going about. I think Don is on that committee, and there are some people on that Reimagining task force that think that, like Don says, that crime is not as big as a problem as it is. They think it can be handled in more of a holistic way, but we need more people to really understand what's really going on with the Reimagining task force. The other big issue is homeless. Ryan Road, I'm not sure, going to Costco, if you ever go to Costco, there's a development out that way. Then if you go down the Parkway, you see Castro. So the city is putting a lot of effort into the homelessness. I think it's in just about every area now. So we do empathize, with the homeless, but we also have to find a way to help and get as many into houses. For instance, the Marriott now is being used by the county to house some of the unhoused people. The Insure Stay Hotel down by Point Richmond at the Chevron Station, that's being used as well. So,
Marina Hotel? Is that the Marina Hotel? No, I mean the one that you're talking about in Point Richmond.
oh yeah, now it's called Sure Stay. Best Western took it over, and so now it's called Sure Stay. So, not really sure. There's homeless task force. There's the county, there's the city, and right now, just trying to get their hand on exactly what can be done to get the people off the street. Some don't want to come off the street, and that's just a reality. But we need to be able to work with the county and the state to be able to get the funds to get people off the street. And besides writing and Castro, people will call it in because RVs are just parked. Two or three RVs just parked on the street. And so it's quality of life for you, quality of life for everyone. So we're just trying to do our best to rectify the problems, but it's not easy. Did you have a question?
Vernon, how long are they going to be in the hotel? Do you know?
The contract is up in June.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
So where are those people going to go? Are they going to just be dumped in our neighborhood?
That's a question for John Joya.
Yeah. So it would be good to have John Joy because that's a county issue. The county has leased the whole hotel. Also, they've leased Sure Stays. And so Sure Stay and Point, that's up probably in April. And last city council meeting, there was a lot of comment about that because it's right across from Washington School.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was discovered that there were some predators that were staying there that should have been removed as soon as the kids got back in school. So it's really a complicated issue. Right now, I don't think anybody really has the clear answers to do it, but it's something also that we really have to get a hold on quick. Luckily, the governor is going to put some money into it. There's something like $2 billion, but it's a statewide problem. So we just have to make sure Richmond gets our fair share to help out with the problem.
I have a question.
Sure.
I noticed last month, my street did get swept. Has that stopped? That program stopped? You know, so, I go out there, every night, with my vehicles, but I never see a scooter come by. And also, what's the status of Hilltop Mall?
Hilltop Mall.
Yeah, across the street, right here, across the street.
Oh, yeah, right. Arto's can give more information on that. He's actively involved.
I said there was a system there.
Oh, no, chief of staff, but that's a private development, private development. So, did you want to address that?
I mean, right now,
Street sweeping is city issue.
Yeah. Now,
Probably knows about Hilltop Mall.
yeah. Now, street sweeping, we did discuss that earlier, and that was a city council directive. Yeah. So the city council decided that due to COVID and due to the number of people in,
I pay a lot of taxes too.
oh yeah, I think we all do.
I'm voted for that street sweeping. So every time I don't move my vehicles, I get a ticket.
Not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah, there's a moratorium going on now, and I think we'll all be happy when that's lifted. I know I will. Because unfortunately, it's getting kind of bad in some of the neighborhoods because people are putting cones, putting trash cans in front of their homes to make sure people don't park there. And it's causing problems, it's causing friction between neighbors, and I have to deal with it a lot. What can we do about it? Because we go out and try to move somebody's home in a trash can, sometimes there's altercation. So it's something that's just a really tough issue. So the street lights down the parkway, so that's getting better. The city, due to people having to catch the bus, I was able to get them to really accelerate getting the street lights done. And that was really, really a big accomplishment. But there's so many issues right now because the city is so short-staffed. And so public works, which to me is one of the most important departments in the city, we really need to get them up to staff so we can take care of a lot of these problems. Graffiti, that's something else, that's a problem. That was also addressed here. But if you go to the app, there's a report, an issue, take a picture of it, send it in to the city, and Public Works will get on it as soon as they can. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later. But that's a quick way. I did bring these pamphlets, which have a lot of information as far as where to contact people. So I encourage you to check one of these on, and so you can feel at least finding one number that hopefully will work so you can make contact with someone.
Do you have any idea when the city council is going to quit bickering among themselves and be about the business of Richmond? We have no shopping, we have no Safeway or Lucky's, we have nothing, any restaurants, nothing. We don't have anything. Richmond is going down. Why? I really want to know what is going on.
Testify, Vernon. Tell us, say it straight.
Please tell me. I've just been holding this and holding this. I just want to know. I came here in 1982. We had so much. I love Richmond. It's a beautiful city. What is going on? I've been praying and praying and praying, and the Lord ain't ain't letting me know nothing either. So I just want to know, what is going on?
Well, we're in the right place, we're going to keep praying, I tell you.
Somebody tell.
Now, I remember when Olive Garden was across the street,
Ain't nothing, we ain't got nothing.
Red Lobster was across the
We
street,
ain't got nothing.
and now everything is
And
in all.
instead of bickering at each other, just bickering at each other.
I encourage
Taking
you,
Tom to court, suing Tom, he's the mayor. Suing the city council, one after each other, just fussing. RPA don't want to, the RPA don't want. What is it? How come those people can't get along? That's a poor example.
well,
My Lord.
I don't blame you if I wasn't the chief of staff, I could really talk like Vernon Whitmore, but, but there are, and I feel your pain, because I remember when that was a beautiful mall,
Oh, yes.
a beautiful mall.
Red Lobster.
Yep,
All kinds of business.
Sunday after
We
church,
don't
that's
have
right.
nothing. Can we pay our bills? Are we getting any kind of taxes from anybody?
Well, here's another problem.
That's it.
Developers, they so-called look at rooftops. Really, what they're looking at is how much money each resident makes, which isn't fair. So, Safeway was right across the street. Oh, I mean, Lucky's. Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
This you when I came here, this was like, we don't have anything like that.
Right. Well, the mayor and I meet with a lot of developers, and one key thing is healthy food and just trying to get a grocery store to come back to Richmond. We have to go to El Cerrito,
That's right.
we have to go over to Pinot, or else we have to go across the bridge
It's all
to Marin County.
Yeah, Richmond deserves that.
I agree with you 100%.
Richmond deserves that.
So I encourage, yes.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So your role, what role do you play in the community in respect to, you know, I just want to know what your role is.
Well, my role as chief of staff is to assist the mayor, work with the mayor on developments, on different projects, on grant writing and grant funding to try to bring money into the city. As president of Santa Fe, I deal with the same issues that we're all talking about right now.
So
Yeah.
what information has the mayor presented to you that you can present to us today in respect to, as she stated, regarding getting more resources in this community, such as even the grocery store? Has he discussed that? That's what I want to hear.
Oh yeah, we've had several meetings, and what I would suggest is that you call into city council, open forum on Tuesdays, and let your voice be heard. That's very important. People have to call city council. And it's on Zoom now, so you don't have to physically, come down to City Hall.
So has this topic been discussed already?
Oh, yes,
So
many.
where are we at in respect to that topic? That's what I want to know.
In respect to that topic, we haven't been able to convince anyone to come in to put in a store, unfortunately. I think Don?
Some of you have been around just as long as I have, which is about 100 million years. We remember all the grocery stores that we used to have in Richmond, a lot of them. Downtown Richmond, you had two in May Valley, you had one across the street here, you had one across the street from each other at McDonald and St. Pavel Avenue. They all left. But we have to ask ourselves the question, why did they leave? And whatever that reason was, what have we done to fix that problem? Because they're not coming back if that problem still exists.
So that's where we need that information from our mayor, letting us know. And
Yes.
that's what I was hoping.
But these stores left long before this
Yes.
mayor, long before even the previous mayor. But, I mean, my discussions with some of the people with these supermarkets, they didn't like homeless people coming in and having their dinner in the store itself, just taking things off the shelf. They didn't like the fact that people were selling anything and everything out in the parking lot, including human bodies on there. They didn't like the thievery. They didn't like the shoplifting. The whole series of issues that they didn't like. They say, it's better for us just to leave. I can't believe that El Cerrito is any different than we are, that Panola is any different than we are, except they've got stores and we do not. I'm suffering the same kind of problem that we all have here. I've got to go to El Cerrito Plaza to get my groceries. I live in East Richmond. Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
So,
Don can say some things I can't say.
yeah.
Go ahead, Arto.
I don't work for the mayor.
And actually, our city council, that's why it's so important. And if you read our newsletter every month or every other month, we ask people to get engaged, get involved, and start watching what's going on, what our city council is doing, because right now they have this thing called Measure U, and it's a tax on stores. And stores are not going to want to come to Richmond and pay higher taxes than they would in Panola, San Pablo, or El Cerrito. They'd just rather stay away from Richmond. So it's a serious issue. And
How do you fix it?
Yeah.
How do you fix it?
Well, you elect different people. That's how you fix it.
Gentleman in the back.
You know, in all fairness, there are a lot of little stores in Richmond. There are a lot of little, but they all seem to be in the inner city. And yes, they're all little niche stores, Hispanic stores, et cetera, et cetera. But what really is the problem is the one or two big stores that we had here, quite frankly, they didn't really get supported like they needed to be. It wasn't, yeah, it was a lot of issues. But one of the main issues is, oh, the prices are too high, so let's go here. That was really one of the big issues of the couple of stores leaving this Richmond, is the prices. And, they just weren't being supported like they should. Well, we got a lot of little stores in Richmond, but they're all downtown Richmond and stuff like that. I can go to all kinds of little Mexican stores and get anything I need.
But you're not going to get what you
have
have.
Walmart. But other than that, we don't have any major stores anymore because they didn't get supported properly, to be honest with you.
Okay, any other questions?
What happened to
Sorry, just cut.
What happened to that?
Sorry,
It was gonna be a lot of jobs.
you go ahead and talk then. I'm sorry, I had my hand up and I was,
Oh, go ahead.
thank you.
I'll give
Sorry.
it to you.
We were talking about supporting our stores. I don't know if how many of you are aware that our city council is, on Tuesday night, they asked the staff to come up with an ordinance that would tell the grocery stores what they could sell at the checkout counter. Point of sale type thing. No longer allow chewing gum or Tic Tacs or sodas or candy bars. It all had to be healthy foods. Okay, these are high profit items for the stores to say, well, no, put them in the back of the store. I said, but stores say, no, we can't sell a banana. We can't sell a rice cake or kale chips at the point of sale. This is something that the city council is looking at right now. If you think this is good, you need to tell the city council this is good. If you think this is going to hurt our stores, big stores, small stores, all the stores, if you think it's going to hurt our stores, you need to tell the city council, I don't like this. Maybe they'll actually listen, because they're saying everybody in Richmond agrees with them on this issue. They actually said that the other night. But it's, I mean, I don't buy stuff there. I don't chew gum. I'm too cheap to buy candy bars and sodas. But I don't like somebody telling me that I can't do that, and especially telling the stores, we're going to tell you how to run your businesses. That is a tough one.
What was your question?
Well, when I was going to city council meetings, they were saying the Lawrence Livermore Lab was coming here. And everybody was all gung-ho, all the jobs it was bringing. What happened to Lawrence Livermore Lab? They didn't keep us informed of, are they still coming?
No, they are coming. Yes, it was political, so I really can't. Yeah.
It was political.
Yes.
So it's off the table.
It's off the table.
When you say it's
UC
political-
Berkeley is not interested anymore. Yeah. If, the only thing I can say is, know your politics. Watch city council meeting. Then you will really get a good feel as to what's going on. I have the same frustration. Mayor has the same frustration. We all have the same frustration. But if you don't know what's going on politically, then things are going to stay the way they are.
Well, I
And
knew
I had to
what was
leave it
going
like
on
that.
politically, because when I was going to the meeting, they were coming. I was there, and they were coming. But they did not keep us informed on why. It was like hush hush under the table, like you're doing right now. It was political. Well,
Yeah.
what does that
Thank
mean?
you. We got a question back here, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
I do mind,
Well, okay.
because I didn't get an
Wrap it
answer.
up?
I do mind,
Okay.
because
Wrap
I
it
didn't
up
get an
then.
answer. It's
Okay, let's-
political, and he's telling me I need to know my politics. I don't have nothing to do with that. That's not an answer.
Okay, let's ask Jan.
The reason that Berkeley did not do their global campus was they couldn't get, they were looking for international universities to come and partner with Lawrence Livermore Lab at the Richmond Station, which is off the shoreline there. When money wasn't coming in the way Berkeley thought it would, they had to change things around. Lawrence stepped out long before. Berkeley was still trying to put this global campus together, global campus. But you're asking people for $100 million to come to some place that they're not even sure it's going to work. So Berkeley ended up, and then of course there was a chancellor change at Berkeley, and that changed everything. And I work for the UC system, so I know what's going on with them, what's going on. But that's how I know what's happening, is because I, hear about all this stuff. But that's exactly what happened. They hyped it up and,
Well, I
other thing that
appreciate
happened with
that.
that-
I appreciate that.
you're welcome.
The other thing that happened with that was the chancellor that was at Berkeley at the time, he didn't have the economic knowledge to make it happen. I was on one of the committees regarding that, and I know exactly what went down over there. And that was one of the main problems.
So we have a question back here.
Yeah.
My question is to the mayor and trying to understand why the mayor did away with committees for the city council members. Now, we've got the RPA there, mostly running the city of Richmond. We know they have problems with being responsible. And when I say being responsible, to people who own homes and people who go to work every day. They tend to favor folks that are renters and people who are, I would say, more in need of government assistance, which kind of pits us against it. I didn't think that, but my only question is, I know the mayor's leaving, so it's not really much the mayor can do in 8 months, and I don't think he's going to change it. But the only thing I've never understood with the mayor is when he did take and have power, why did he do away with the committees that gave the community a voice? And when they had problems like sideshow, the donuts in the neighborhood, or if we have a broken light, we could go take it, and then there could be pressure put on the public works department so they could actually solve problems. Meaning, to me, I know the mayor's about business, and I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with making money. It's the mayor. So that would bother me. But I do have a problem when people's lives are affected by poor choices. And then because I'm really not the type of person that is a nice guy. I got my daughter here with me, right? So I won't say things but I'm not really a nice guy when I think my family's in danger. And I really don't want to be a nice guy. If everything is cool, we're cool. But I feel like the mayor has been irresponsible in just the way he organized the government department, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, actually, I think you're in probably the best committee you can be in the neighborhood council. The neighborhood council, 37 neighborhoods, I'm not sure how many active, but it's the most active neighborhood organizing groups in the city. There's our president right there, Jan, the chairman of the RNCC. And the RNCC is another meeting that you're also welcome to listen in on, where every city department comes and makes a report, and you also learn a lot. But the neighborhood council system is like, I've been to several cities, they don't have anything like Richmond's neighborhood council. So,
I'm sure they don't have anything like Richmond.
yeah.
Yeah, so, have they said anything about putting a hospital back in Richmond besides Cocker? Everybody don't have Cocker.
Actually, I was in a meeting on that yesterday, because this is a health desert, and it's terrible. So I'm a veteran, so if I want to go to VA hospital, I have to go all the way to Martinez. And a lot of people in Richmond that are veterans would have to catch a bus that would probably take them half a day just to get there. With Brookside closing and Kaiser being a private facility, you're 100% right. And a lot of people are still fighting to try to get a hospital because it's, once again, it's a serious quality of life issue. Because let's say in 20 minutes, if it's a bad day, traffic's backed up, you're trying to get to Berkeley or something like that. So it's shameful that we don't have a hospital. Yes.
And just even to piggyback off of that, we have a lot of DaVitas coming to our community. And so if anything happens to the dialysis patients, what hospital are they all going to? I mean, we're about to get that big, huge one in the town center.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I myself, I'm a post-transplant patient, so I know what they're about to experience when it comes time for something happens. Where are they going? The Kaiser? Or again, like you said, are they going to make it all the way to the VA? You know,
Right.
so that is a big risk.
Or even out of Davis or Sutter or whatever. Because that 80 corridor, depending on what time of day, which now is almost all day.
I mean,
It's a
we
problem.
still, there's a hospital that's still sitting in Pinole on night.
Oh, yeah.
What's the problem?
Yeah,
And the facility is already there.
it's already there.
So what's the problem? Money, huh?
Money, yeah.
Politics.
One more question.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, could she repeat what she was saying? I couldn't really hear her entire point of something about the meter and the
So what I was saying is that there's a lot of DaVitas here in Richmond itself, and we're about to get that large one in the town center. So in respect to tie into the question about medical facilities and how we only have Kaiser, now it's going to be a big issue with that DaVita when something happens to those patients while on dialysis. So that was my point behind that, tying into that. And just the fact that if anyone really thinks about it, why does our community have so many DaVitas?
politics.
Well, I want to thank Vernon for coming. We could sit here all day.
Oh, yeah.
Before he leaves, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that this neighborhood council has been working with his neighborhood council, with Jan's neighborhood council, with 12 other neighborhood councils to develop a map for district elections because we were shortchanged by the last map. And we are asking people to call in, take a look at the map. It's map 102 or 102D. And look at it, analyze it, and call in support of it because it was made for neighborhood councils, by neighborhood councils to level the playing field for candidates. So our neighborhood can afford to put somebody forward, or his neighborhood can afford to run a candidate, as opposed to just Point Richmond or the Hilltop area or the wealthier areas. So it's important that we all get involved, start watching the neighborhood, watching the city council meetings, and calling in. So we're asking everybody here, if you can, call in to support map 102 by the neighborhood councils.
Yeah, we definitely need good candidates to run the next election in 2022, the mayor, and also a number of the city council. And neighborhood council can't deal in politics because of 501(c). So that's one of the reasons why we don't talk politics, but politics is very important. So off the record, I'm sure also can talk to you more about that.
Yeah, and like I say, we have a candidate for mayor, if you want to speak to him outside about some of the issues that you think need to be resolved, or it's all good, but we just can't do it inside here.
Yeah. And then I want to thank the chief because the police department has gone through a lot, and we really have to support them. I mean, you heard about 9 officers. I mean, in a city this size, that's spread out so wide. So we have to really support our police because they support us, and we need them. And we need more officers. So whatever you can do, call into the city council and let the city council know what we need, and that's very important.
And this, one thing before you all go, one thing I can promise you is the new owners of Hilltop Mall will be here at a neighborhood council meeting, maybe 4 months from now, with the city to explain what they're going to do over there. Because right now they're waiting to change the zoning. They want to put in warehousing for Amazon. So we want them to put in housing in storefronts and everything we all mentioned, the hospital, all of that. So it's going to be a lot of this. So I encourage you to keep following up with the newsletter and call the numbers on the newsletter and get involved. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody for coming in. Thank you.
Oh, Arto, I'm going to give you this book on behalf of the mayor and mayoral certificate of excellence in recognition of your tireless service to the neighborhood council in the city of Richmond.
Oh, wow. Sounds like all right, thanks everybody. And it looks like the Warriors are not winning right now. So.
Oh, no.